So, welcome everybody. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Neil. I'm the chair, and we have any new people? We know Fionn's going to talk to us in a minute. Anybody new? Okay, so could you actually should we go around and introduce ourselves for your benefit? That's probably good. So I'm Neil. I'm a teacher, a sixth form teacher, but I'm also the NEU rep on this committee.
Mark Kenny, I am a humanist and representing that for you.
I'm Louise Jenkins, I'm representing the education team at the Diocese of Bath Wells.
I'm Gerald and I'm a teacher at Henderson as a child.
I'm Alison Jeffrey, Head of Service Curriculum Literacy for the Local Authority, but I'm also Vice Chair of SACRE.
I'm Lee Willman, I'm a Democrat Service Officer trained to take over the clerking.
I'm Pippa and I'm the outgoing clerk that's currently training leaves to go.
I'm Jamie Jackson. Sorry, Francis. Jamie Jackson, also Democratic Services, the Somerset Council.
I'm Pat Ebden, representing the Quakers. Not really quite sure what my role is, but I'm here. Francis Nicholson, and Somerset Councillor, with apologies for being late. The motorway came to a standstill at 1:45.
Bertie Burfield, I was an RE teacher, and now I'm retired, and I represent Wolfram Community Church.
I'm Tim Curley. I'm a councillor on Somerset Council, represent Somerton. I'm an ex-teacher, a history teacher, but I've taught program analysis for building RE.
I'm Lynn Cutler, I'm Programme Director at the Global Learning Centre, and we convene the Somerset Interfaith and Belief Network.
And I'm Liz Johnson-Iden and I work on the Interfaith and Belief Network.
Okay, and not to forget the people online. Would you like to introduce yourselves? Should we do it in the list that I've got on the screen in front of me? I've got ML. Who would that be?
Mary Locke.
Oh, Mary. Introduce yourself, Mary. I think most of you are on mute at the moment. Mary, you still there?
Mary did drop out and come
Did she?
into the council. I don't know whether she's having Wi-Fi issues.
Okay, so Leonard.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Leonard Daniels. I'm one of the voices of Judaism. I'm now retired. I'm 87, and but I'm still chair of the Somerset Anne Frank Youth Awards.
Thanks, Leonard. Who else have we got?
We've got Rebecca there.
Rebecca. So, hello, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Guy. I'm the primary RE advisor. Apologies for being online. I've had a few issues this morning, but I made it online, so.
Actually, I can't see anybody else's names and my eyesight being so poor.
Jessica.
Jessica. Jess.
Hi, I'm Jess. I'm the learning manager at Wells Cathedral.
Thank you. Anybody else want to volunteer? Oh, Mary.
Mary's just said, sorry, I can't hear anything and I'm having camera issues. I will work on it. So.
Oh, shoot.
Right.
I think that's it, apart from people who are in the room as well.
Okay. And you need to introduce yourself. We have a new person.
I'm Eleanor Delaney, and I am Vice Chair / the representative for Evangelical Churches.
Right. Okay. So let's jump into the agenda. So that's the welcome bit, I think. So the apologies, I've had apologies from Sarah Wakefield and Shell Sullivan. Anybody else had any apologies? So we have an update on the membership, and as much as we have a new person who's replacing Pauline, I'm guessing. Yeah. So welcome. We don't have anybody else new, do we? As far as I'm right. Minutes of the last meeting. So everybody would have been sent these. So I'm just going to go as usual through them. And I'm going to ball the first page with in my papers here. It says page 4. I'm going to ball it page 1 of the minutes. Right. So page 1 of the minutes. Has anybody got anything they want to suggest is wrong or they want adapted on page 1 of the minutes?
Can't remember whether I'm sorry, I've now lost the page numbering because I'm not working on that bit.
Okay.
Just a real little nitpick. Practicing has an S in it, not a C.
Okay,
Just a really little one.
okay.
I hope you don't mind.
You ever thought about being an English teacher?
Yeah, but they're public things.
Okay, so we will get that changed. Fantastic. I was thinking Bernie Kerr. Is that the right spelling of his name? Was it K-E-R? The Baha'i guy.
Just not a minute.
K-E-R.
Oh, you should have to.
Okay, so
Right, yeah.
need to get that changed. So page 2. Okay, so this is the one that's got the ASC update on it. So that's on 4 and 5. Right, then page 3, which is carrying on with the ASC update. And the next page, which talks about RE advisors. And then it starts at the bottom with the diocesan report. Okay, and the next page, we've got the budget report update, faith and belief worker. And then the last page, which is basically talking about any other business and dates of the next meeting. Okay, so is there anything from here that anybody thinks there's matters arising that we need to deal with that haven't been done? That's
Well, just a question, Amy, because I couldn't see anything in the papers. There was talk last time about whether we should start a bit later, and whether the meetings could, and whether that really mattered for teachers who are on, anywhere on that.
Yeah, we've looked into the availability of this building after 5 o'clock. So obviously we need to make sure we shift it back, and it is available. So if we make the decision that we want to move the meeting back further, then we can, or we could vary the meeting dates. Yeah. Yeah, from a clerking perspective, however, that does have ramifications on the schools' working hours, so that will need to be taken into consideration.
Oh, absolutely. I just thought what I remember from last time was that the thought was if it was 3:30 or after, it would work better for people. I may be wrong on that. I'm not a teacher. But if that could bring it within working hours.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I suppose it'd be worthwhile, so
Yeah, I
interrupt.
I was going to say, as a teacher, it's not frequent enough to make a big impact. I'd rather come in the afternoon because there's plenty to do after school.
Right, that's fine. Yeah, I'm not a teacher.
the other side of the coin from the teacher's point of view is that I'm teaching the AMs at 3:40, 4 o'clock.
Yeah, so 3:30 doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just interested in, because it was about attendance, wasn't it?
I think if we were going further from the membership attendance for any reason, there was say a presentation happening or something like that, and I think we would definitely need to think about the timing of it if we were going after a big audience. But I think those members of SACRE already are aware that the timings and therefore make accommodations for it. But you're absolutely right. It's better to be upfront and honest about what suits people.
Fantastic. Okay, so can I sign these as a true record of our meeting? Agreed?
Agreed.
I'll pop them over to Lee at the end. Right.
Yeah, sorry to
Yes.
interject. Mary Lockwood has now said she can see and hear online, so I didn't know if you wanted to get to introduce
So
herself.
Mary, could you therefore introduce
Hello.
yourself?
Yes, hello. Sorry, I dashed home from work, which is Richard Jewish College, where I'm a course coordinator for philosophy, religion, and ethics. And I've logged on to my home laptop, and I can't get the camera to work. So I'm now on my phone next to my home laptop. So I'm sorry about that.
Okay, welcome, Mary.
Hello.
Right, the next thing on the agenda says public question time, and I don't believe you have any members of the public here. Then next we have these two lovely ladies over here who've come to talk to us about. No, we haven't. Forget that. I just said that. So we've got SACRE members of Worldview, which is going to be Rebecca, who is online. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Hello. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, so I'll just give you a bit of a brief overview of kind of my worldview, how things have changed over time, a bit like Shell did last time. So I grew up going to a Methodist church with my family. So I kind of grew up with that Christian background and was quite active in church as a teenager. Went to university, and obviously things change as you get older, and ended up going to a very different type of church, which was much more modern and outgoing, which kind of changed my beliefs and understandings a bit. And then I spent a year traveling Latin America, which was a fascinating year and definitely has had a lot of influence on my personal worldview and how I see the world. And that kind of very Christian dominant country, which is very Catholic and in some ways very traditional, but the kind of mixture with a lot of that very different culture and how those things have combined. It was just, I just found absolutely fascinating and really made me reflect on my own personal beliefs and where our beliefs come from and what we're told and how we choose to act upon those things. And I've got a really vivid memory actually of being in a church which looked like a very traditional Catholic church, colonial church. And there was a painting of the Last Supper, which looked like we would expect it to. But as you looked closer, instead of there being bread and wine on the table, there was actually a roasted guinea pig, as was what they were eating. So I suddenly had this moment of, oh my goodness, this story that I think from my British Christian background is bread and wine. In fact, in this culture and in this country, some people view completely differently. And had a really interesting conversation with someone about that. And I remember that being just a really interesting point where I just went, how do people take these things on board and what do they take? And I think from that point, I just became really interested in that diversity of worldviews within one singular religion. Obviously, this example is Christianity, but it's true of many other things. So I am a practicing Christian. I go to a Baptist church these days. But I also work at Bristol Cathedral, so I think it's just interesting that diversity within religions. So yeah, that's my background in terms of my worldview.
Thanks, Rebecca. Thank you. Right, so what we need now is somebody who's brave who wants to volunteer to go next time, which is going to be in December. I was going to say January. So does anybody want to explain their reason for being on this committee in December? That gives you a few months. Brilliant. So Mark is going to do it. Thank you very much. Right, now we're going to get on to the work of Glade with Lynn and Liz. Thank you.
I'm not sure I can follow what Becca just said. But I will, and because we're GLADE, which stands for Global Learning Development Education, it's not going to be just simple, just sit and listen. It's going to actually get you doing something as well. People online, you're going to be able to do this, but sadly you'll miss out on the feely bits. What I'd like you all to do is to just think about where's the place you feel most peaceful. And while you're thinking about it, I'm going to hand round something. I'd like you to take one each. I'm not going to ask you to share any of this. It's more to do with you thinking. If you want to share, you can do. Just think about where's the place you feel most peaceful. And then I'd like you to pick a bead out of my palette. Just hold it between your fingers. Any bead at all that you think is useful. So the place that you feel most peaceful at, wherever that might be, it might be here, it might be overseas. If you're doing this online and you want to either put something between your fingers or just sort of rub your finger and the thumb together, that would be great. So while you're thinking about your peaceful place, I want you to be rubbing your bead in your hand, your finger, and just think about the one thing that makes that stand out to you. What's the one thing that makes that the most peaceful place to you? As you're doing that, you're rubbing your bead. And I want you to look at your bead and think really hard how you could transform that peaceful bit of your place into that bead. What would you put it in there as? Would it be a scent? Would it be a taste? Would it be a colour? Would it be a word? What would it be? And I want you to think very carefully about how you would put that thing that's very hard to grasp on. How would you put it into that bead? I'm getting very funny looks now from people in the room. What you've just done with that bead, with your thoughts, is something that's done the world over through almost every single religion, every single faith, and every single belief, whether that's a traditional belief, whether it's a personal thing. All around the world, beads have great significance. They're passed on as heirlooms, heirlooms, you know what I mean. They're passed on as heirlooms. They could be something that is held strongly by the community. They might be something that you've created yourself. They could be something that's useful or used by you in terms of calming babies or children, or perhaps they hold memories of dear ones. But what this bead that's in your hand does is it's one short connection to every single faith, belief, value, understanding throughout the world. The particular beads that you're holding in your hand, the story behind them, they all come from Ghana. They come from somebody called Sidi. He is a bead creator. He's known the world over for his beadwork. Look him up, Sidi beads. He's a Muslim. He transforms everyday items, broken glass, into traditional beads that are used within traditional beliefs within that part of Ghana. But he then also makes and sells beads around the world in a contemporary format. That's the sort of thing that we do at Glade and will be doing and are doing through the Interfaith and Belief Network. We try and make the connections between your personal understandings, your individual values, your beliefs, the things that you hold dear, and those people around the world. We've run this in one of the welcome hubs and it's gone down incredibly well. We've run it previously at Christian Days within Wells Cathedral. So it's a tried and tested, and it's part of our Connect, Challenge, Change methodology. And that's one of the reasons why we were awarded the Interfaith and Belief contract for Somerset, is because we're bringing a slightly different methodology. We're thinking beyond the 3 years of the contract. We're trying to think about how we can help people connect through commonalities and similarities rather than just the differences. We're then about helping people challenge the way that they think, because we all hold things that we bring in our luggage, in our backpacks. And some of those are because of our experiences, where we live, our worldviews, what we brought. But it's about being open. And then hopefully the dream is to change so that Somerset is a truly welcoming and inclusive place. It is up to a point. We're not Bristol, we're not Manchester, we're not Birmingham, we're not London, we're not Exeter. So we've got our own particular thing that we have to help all communities, all people, schools, education, a whole lot overcome. And some of that is becoming more familiar in connections. So one of the ways we've done this on our website, I don't know if it's possible to bring it up. We have something called 5 Ps. People, oh, well done. People, place.
Oh, have you put this on there?
No, it's just a web link. I did send it across earlier, but if it doesn't matter if it's not there, it's fine. We've got 5 Ps: people, place, prosperity, peace, and partnership. And they're also on the handout that I'll give you. And the reason we use these, they connect to the Sustainable Development Goals that every country of the world, every government, every person has got some ownership, some connection to. But more importantly for us, there's something there for every community, for every faith group, for every individual to hook onto. So during the first year, we've done a bit of a poll to see which are the ones that are most important to people. And they vary, but everybody that we've spoken to has found at least 2 that they've been able to connect with. As I've already said, our dream is to make Somerset, or contribute to making Somerset a more welcoming, inclusive and place. And in terms of schools, one of the things we're doing is each year we'll be holding a schools event for teachers. In November, in the lead up to Interfaith Week and during Interfaith Week, we'll be holding short 2-hour-long workshops for teachers. They will be released probably next week. We've got 1 or 2 that we want to firm up on. And they'll be dotted around the county, so they won't all necessarily be in Taunton. Teachers can choose to attend or not. We'll have some materials that will go online available to everybody. But the sorts of things we're doing, is to try and help make the connections. One of the things that I think we've lost, partly through COVID, partly through the nature of society, is we've lost the opportunity of having conversations. So the things that we're doing are to start up again those conversations, to make the connections that are Somerset based. So for example, we will have somebody who will be coming and doing something around Rastafari, because there is a strong connection between Rastafari and Taunton. You know it. We're also going to be looking at things like flowers for peace. There are certain flowers that wend their way through each faith, each belief, each set of values, and we're going to be drawing on those. We'll do a session on something that's really exciting. I don't want to say too much about it yet, but it's a really important person who is little known of in history, probably known more so outside Somerset, but we're going to have that. It's a film and a talk and an opportunity to develop some curriculum materials, possibly for RE, possibly wider. We've got Janine Evans from SACRE. In the light of the recent Islamophobic and race hate incident, she's going to be delivering 2 short sessions on race hate crime and support for schools. I'll hand over to Liz in a minute because we're going to have a bit of an input on 80 candles and 80 years. So it's the sorts of things, they're not lesson plans. It's not necessarily knowledge training. It's the sorts of things to help teachers provide opportunities to their pupils. Outside of that, we've got things that we plan to do. So we are pulling together some boxes, if you like, around interfaith and belief, not replicating or duplicating the SACRE boxes, but the ones that might come with a person to add a bit of an insight. So rather than maybe looking at religious artifacts, some of the things that might generate curiosity with teenagers, with young people around, oh, I wonder what that's for, I wonder why they've included that. I'm sure beads will crop up. We're also beginning to run confidence building and training session with community members, because if you're not a teacher, it's actually really scary going into a school, working with a group of pupils, or even more scary, working with a group of teachers. So we're going to try and upskill and build confidence of community people to go in. Because after all, teachers' time and school time is really valuable. And what you don't want is a dry something or other that you could access on the internet. Rather, it's trying to build those relationships. And the final thing I've just drafted, I'm a bit scared about saying these because they're literally in draft format. We have started to build some training. Some of it will be for teachers and schools. Some of it might evolve into sessions that we could co-run with teachers for students. But it's around things to help progress and build interfaith dialogue. So don't quote me on all these because these are draft form. But one of them is intercultural understanding and values for progressing interfaith dialogue. And that will be helping teachers provide opportunities for students to respond in non-violent ways, peaceful ways, to situations or things that challenge their own values, their own beliefs, their own things that they hold dear. And that's come about because of recent incidents. The other one is something called a right to listen to. That'll start with a think point from one of my favourite artists, Nitin Sawhney. So there's a think point based around his music and around a piece of writing for him. And that will look at, it'll include contested words and phrases, as well as perhaps getting schools and students to think about what's their right to be listened to. And then finally, the third one that's in draft form is building intercultural and interfaith practice. So the starting point will be sort of having an awareness of our own faiths, beliefs, cultural preferences, exploring differences in a respectful way, and then highlighting similarities and things that we all hold dear. But they're in very draft form. What we'll be doing is looking perhaps for, I don't know, 2 or 3 groups to help us test and trial them before we release them fully. I'm going to hand over briefly to Liz to talk about 2 things, which both of us hold quite dear. One is the 80 Candles, 80 Years, and then lullabies.
Well, 80 Candles, 80 Years is Holocaust Memorial Day theme next year. And we were lucky enough to be awarded a project, some funding, to make a candle holder. And the design is still in preparation, and we're working with Arca Edwards in Marriott to design that, and working particularly with people, ex-services people that have mental health issues in the design. It'll be made mainly from willow, but with other things involved. And well, you might use wax candles, LED lights, but and that once it's done, the only criteria I have so far is it's going to fit in my car. Because after Holocaust Memorial Day on the 27th of January, it will go on tour. We're hoping it will go to schools, community centres, doctor's surgeries, libraries, wherever we can take it throughout the year, and that will become part of the legacy. It will also have a story. We're looking at a story around Holocaust to work with as part of that. We've got a few ideas, but if you've got any, please let me know as soon as possible, because we haven't made a decision exactly which one we're going to go for yet. And we're also going to have a simple version of the candle holder, which we'll have a few kits and instructions online, and encourage as many schools and groups to make their own, which will then become the legacy of next year, really. And don't forget that next year is also the anniversary of Bosnia and Cambodia. So it's a big year next year.
Can I just stop you there? Yeah. Leonard, I see you've got your hand up. Did you have something you wanted to say about this?
Yes, thank you. I don't want to be a killjoy, and I share the values behind both previous two speakers. But as a matter of fact, as is accepted by even Christian theologians, that Jesus was Jewish and would hardly have had a pig at the Last Supper. So this is a matter of factual history. He was a practicing Jew, according to even Christian theologians. And the other thing is that I have to again say that as far as I know, and I've had 7 years theological study as student, that there is no Jewish, shall we say, sector that has beads. We don't have anything like that at all. We'd have to find something else to represent the value outlined, but we don't have beads at all.
Thanks, Leonard.
I think that's a really valuable point. One of these stories that was told to us during our workshop with the Welcome Hubs was somebody who had fled during World War II, and one of the things that they took with them were family beads that they held very sentimental. They had no money value, but it was something that they held dear. So yes, I stand corrected on that, Leonard. I should have been a bit clearer, and thank you.
Thank you. I just try to be accurate.
I think it was a guinea pig.
It was a guinea pig, and I'm not saying I necessarily think that. I'm saying it's interesting how things evolve in different cultures. But
no, I agree with that. I agree. I have no problem with. I have no problem with that. Thank you. I just wanted to be. It wouldn't be a pig at the or even a guinea pig, because that's also not kosher.
Yeah.
Very briefly. The other project that we're working on is recording lullabies as a symbol of peace and love and hope for the future. And we're working with people who've been displaced, whether that's through war or various things, but also including domestic violence, and recording the lullabies in their original language and traditional lullabies. And we're hoping to have some at the Holocaust Memorial Day, but we're looking for people that are happy to sing, but if they're not, we can find singers, or technology is amazing. So we're working with Action Track on that.
Thank you, Liz. So we've got some things to take away if you want to take them away. And the takeaway also includes your bead, if you would like it. I have bought some laces with me if you want to hang your bead on a lace. But one of the things we're really clear about Somerset Interfaith and Belief Network. It's not about Liz and me. It's about Somerset, and it's about bringing people together of different faiths and people of no faith, because in terms of the census, it makes interesting reading to see the large proportion of people who identified as having no religious belief. And so there are things that hold us together. It takes a while because for things to be valuable, it's about building those trusting relationships. So it's not about any of us walking into any faith community and demanding time. Liz and I are both lucky enough to do this as a paid part-time job. But a lot of people, the things they carry out, whether it's in the community, whether it's in their faith group, they do it as volunteers. I think we need to respect that as well, because as I say, we're lucky enough to do this paid, but a lot of people don't have that luxury. So thank you for your time. There will be handouts on the front table as you go, and if you've got any questions, we welcome them, and we will try and answer them.
Not a question actually, but can I just make a comment on behalf of the SACRE, just for everyone's understanding really. So it's been wonderful you've been able to come today and explain what you're doing, and there's some fantastic projects that you're working on, work that you're delivering across Somerset. I suppose in terms of your attendance here, we have discussed previously, haven't we, whether they would become a membership or something like that. But because of the way that the contract works, from a purely practical point of view, with Glades, Liz and Lynn are here to support the effective delivery of SACRE. So today obviously is an introduction to tell you all about the work that they do, but hopefully Lynn and Liz or either will be able to attend future SACRE meetings. So I suppose it is for us all to reflect and think on, are there specific things within the work that they're doing that we could explore further, or linked to some of the work that we're doing as a group, or are there things that we would potentially want to think about for the future? So just to put that out there in the context of us as a membership.
I think as well, one of the things that we'd like to do is to try and I know we've got two amazing RE advisors, but it's to try and support and help and continue things that SACRE are doing, because we don't just want to add another layer. So, we want to be helpful and time saving. So do shout.
We are at the moment changing the agreed syllabus. Well, you know that anyway. So we've got an agreed syllabus conference going on to talk about how we'll do that. So once we get a little further along the line with that, we'll talk to you about how we can support with the syllabus itself.
That would be good. There is an equivalent organisation to Glade. There used to be organisations like Glade in every single local authority in the country. We're all independent charities, but we work together. And the one in Cumbria works very closely with their SACRE and have helped them fit into the Cumbrian RE syllabus. So we're here to help outside of the work we do for the Interfaith and Belief Network. I've delivered nationally and internationally on interventions around curriculum building, curriculum design. So where I can, I'll bring that. But obviously, curriculum design is not part of what I do within here. But we've got loads of resources should you want to borrow any.
Thank you. Has anybody got any questions or comments that they have for our Glade people?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd just like to say music to my ears. And I think the reason that I'm here is I always think with religions there's often more that connects us than separates us. And I think that focus is often the wrong way around. So what you're talking about here is absolutely what I really want for the new curriculum. I think that recently we've gone an awful long way to becoming a very tolerant country and culture. But I actually think we've regressively taken some steps back in the last few years. And I think this type of work is the bedrock that we sort of rebuild that on, try and understand where it is from. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. I'll open it as Mr. Tim says. No, you should.
If you don't want your beads, do put them in your pot and pass them back down. But if you do want them, you're very welcome to keep them.
Okay. Right, so next thing on the agenda is the ASC update. So that'll be Rebecca, that'll be you, wouldn't it?
Yes, yeah. I've kind of put everything on one slide. So I'll just join it all together because I think that makes the most sense. So just to say, Shal and I both went to the ARIAC conference, which is, I always forget what the acronym stands for, but it's basically an association for RE advisors, inspectors, and something like that. So anyway, a conference with lots of different RE advisors from all across the country, which was brilliant in so many ways, in terms of networking, in terms of finding out what other SACREs are doing in terms of their agreed syllabus and that kind of thing, and finding out about resources that are out there, things that might help us moving forwards, was fantastic. So we've got lots of ideas of things to share, both in the ASC and also with teachers on our next newsletter. So that was a really brilliant event for us to be at. There was also the Learn, Teach, Lead RE conference in June, which our two hub leaders for Somerset attended as well. I was there, and I think there were 5 teachers from Somerset, which was lower than last year, but last year's conference was in North Somerset. This year it was in Bristol, so that is probably to be expected just because of geography. But again, that was a brilliant conference, and that was sharing the work that a group of teachers had been involved with in conjunction with the University of Bristol, and a scheme of work that they had developed, as well as having really great speakers from across the country who are really high up in terms of that kind of research on worldviews and what we should be kind of putting forwards. So a real mixture of quite high academic lectures, as well as workshops from some great local teachers with really practical hands-on advice for people to get involved with. And one of our primary hub leader led one of those workshops as well, which was really great. So it was great that we had that Somerset representation at that conference at a bigger area. Shell and I also attended the Devon Agreed Syllabus launch. They have a new agreed syllabus. They launched it at the end of the last academic year, so it's rolling out from now onwards. So that was good just to see what, you know, our neighbouring local authority is doing and how they launched that. So we've taken a few things away from that in terms of how we can launch our agreed syllabus once it's ready. I also went to the school library services in August and looked at the SACRE boxes, which are great and such a brilliant resource for our schools to be able to use. So we went through those, and there were a few things that needed updating, a few things missing. So that was a really great conversation for us to have together about what needed doing, how we could improve them. And again, they were quite small suggestions that I made. So hopefully when we've got our new agreed syllabus sorted, we can make those link in with the topics that we've got on our agreed syllabus. So that was, again, a really positive thing, and such a great resource for schools to be able to use. So I think we should really be promoting that moving forwards. Then in terms of ASC, we've not had another meeting since the last SACRE meeting, so there's not a huge amount to update you on, other than Shell and I will be meeting with the Coventry and Warwickshire team on the 17th of September. So hopefully that will be positive. And then our next meeting is next week, next Wednesday. Has anyone got any questions about any of that?
Can I just clarify, when you're meeting with Coventry and Warwickshire, is it to get their approval for us to move ahead with?
Hopefully. Yeah. The emails are a little cryptic.
Right.
So that's what we're hoping for.
It'll be plan B if they say no, basically.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Mary, you have your hand up, but you're on mute.
Am I on mute now?
No, we can hear you.
Good. So no, it's not a question, but just joining in with the Learn, Teach, Lead RE conference feedback. I went to that in Bristol and it was really good. The thing I liked about it, other than discussing worldviews and thinking about the next steps for RE as a whole, was what you were saying, Rebecca, about the academic sort of almost lectures. Yeah. It was just brilliant to get that bit of your brain going and a little bit of sharing those ideas and being inspired. I suppose partly because I'm post 16, and so I was then able to make some links with universities for my students who want to go further. But also it was like another part of my brain working, which was really
Yeah,
nice.
exactly.
But yeah, it was a good idea. Really excellent speakers.
Yeah, good
I didn't realise
combination,
there
wasn't
was
it?
so few from Somerset.
Yeah, I
But-
think it was down to location, but
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. I've got a quick question about the boxes that I presume they're the ones that go into schools. I used to have to administer some for the museum service, so I know what work there is in making sure the right content is in there and bring them back. How many boxes are there, and what is the uptake of them? I'm just wondering how used the service is.
I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sure we could find out for the next meeting. Though you don't know, do you, Alison?
Don't off the top of my head, I'm afraid, no, but I
No.
suppose that's find out and get back to
Yeah.
But
I think there are 6.
I think some of the boxes are used more frequently than others.
I was going to say, I know how many there are only because I work upstairs. It's based upstairs in the school library service building, and I've had a nosy through the boxes. They are amazing. And they're split up, but having counted them, there's probably between 12 and 14. I don't know how many combined, sort of box A and box B, but there's quite a lot of them. They've got really exciting stuff in. Sorry, I had a nosy.
Yeah.
Can you just ask how the LTLRE conference was publicised? Yeah, I mean, it was probably just me missing it or just not being proactive, but I didn't know about it. I don't know how it was kind of circulated.
Oh, it was on our newsletter, and I think we sent a separate email out as well with a reminder on. Did you get?
I don't think I got the separate reminder.
I have been having problems with your email address.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll look into that. Maybe we'll catch up next week and double check.
Sure.
Rebecca, I was wondering, sorry, so I was wondering, would there be any use with inviting the Glade colleagues to the ASC meeting next week?
Yeah, we can do if they're available. It's very short notice, but
just wondering if you are available next Wednesday.
When is it? Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Wednesday afternoon.
Is it here again?
yes.
Same time, same place, later.
I'm not putting you under pressure. I'm just asking.
Tuesday.
Wednesday.
Same time, same place next week.
I can probably make it.
Okay. If you can, I think that'd be quite useful.
Yeah, it would be handy.
Yeah. Okay.
If not the following one, we've got another one.
Is there another one planned? There is.
When's the other one?
December the 4th.
I'm going to say no to December the 4th because within Glade, we're running a heritage project and we have a 6-week long exhibition in Crewe. So I know that the 4th.
Okay.
But thank you for that.
Okay. So if you could, that would be nice, but up to you. Right. What have we looked at? Oh yes. Oh, sorry, Francis.
Sorry, just a little thing. The boxes, wonderful. It was a really good thing to move them from to be run by the library service, because I do remember when we all used to go and try and keep them. So much better. But in those days, they lived in schools, so schools got them from schools. So how easy is it to get them to schools at the moment? How much of it, that's the real thing. The library service is a great thing, but let's not let it get in the way of them being used.
I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe that the schools ordered them and the library service delivered them to the schools.
Right.
They are delivered.
Yeah, it's just the schools therefore need to be very aware that, as you know, that's what they should.
So I think the school library service is really proactive in terms of
That's great.
advertising all of the kind of stock that they've got and the boxes, and particularly making a push for the SACRE boxes. So I believe they're doing that.
That's great.
Yes.
So that's something we can put on our newsletter that's going out every week, so we can really advertise people with them.
Anybody else? Okay. So the next thing on the agenda is, again, Rebecca, it's all over to you again. You've got the advisors report. But you're sad that Michelle's not here today, aren't you?
Oh yeah. I've done that. I combined it with ASC.
Oh, have you? Okay.
So the first bit was my advisor's report. The second bit was ASC. Sorry.
Okay, fantastic. Okay.
What are these slides that we've got about ASC?
Sorry?
We've got lots of slides that were sent to us
Okay.
with charts of things about ASC.
Um,
From the last meeting.
That's my last, I beg your pardon there.
Yeah.
Beg your pardon.
Got me worried then.
Where's my? I don't copied it onto this.
Yeah, just sorry, just to clarify for everybody, so the ASC, the reason that Shell and Rebecca Rinton, Coventry and Warwickshire is because the work from the ASC today has been to look at the existing syllabi that we could use, and actually it's been decided that will probably fix the brief really well for Somerset for an interim period, so hence why they're going to ask about that. But so the slides were all about the kind of range syllabus that they looked at already.
Apologies, I clearly copied it onto today's
No, don't worry about that.
OneNote page.
Right, now the next bit might take a little bit longer. We as a group decided our new SACRE constitution, which Francis tells us wasn't actually ratified by the council. So the new constitution is sitting in my hand, but isn't actually our constitution. So what we've got to do is we've got to look at what we have and make sure that we're happy with it. Now, we did ask people to suggest the things that they wanted or thought might need changing. And I have got a list here in front of me. Has everybody got access to a constitution? There are some just here on the table if you want to have some.
People to share might be.
But I'm quite happy to read out the ones which people have highlighted as being needing to change or have a debate about whether we should change them. Now, the order that I've got them here is not the order that they are in the constitution. So if I do them in the order that they are in the constitution, that makes things easier. So 4.5 talks about attendance. And it says, in the case of a member who, without the consent of SACRE, has failed to attend SACRE meetings for a continuous period of 12 months, the local authority may remove them or SACRE may recommend their removal by the local authority. Now, that was one thing that people were suggesting we need to change. But why? I'm confused. Is it because we're thinking that 12 months is too long? Or so is it?
It wasn't necessary to change it, it was more to confirm whether
Yes,
that's what we wanted.
indeed. So are we thinking 12 months is too long? Yeah.
I think the convention is it's usually 6 months within politics, but I think we don't meet that often. So I don't think it's necessary to do 6 months. I think 12 months is.
Or 2 meetings or 3 meetings. I mean, rather than number of meetings rather than 12 months.
And I also quite like the flexibility where they're not automatically removed, but the option to remove, so that you actually then take those circumstances.
Okay.
I think that's good wording.
So are we happy to keep it as it is, 12 months, or do we want to change it to 3 meetings, or is it okay as it is?
I'm happy with 12 months.
I think what we need to do, I think we need to have a little vote on this. I mean, what?
12 months before.
Will it? Oh, okay, I thought. Yeah.
I think the only thing we were thinking was the courtesy aspect.
Of course, it's another one.
Different point. Not wishing to be overly harsh, and obviously we have to take in personal circumstances, of course we do, but it's so that we can do the business of SACRE, and there's a huge period of missing attendance, and that's difficult.
The quorum is only 2 from each house.
So we're going over that one a bit, that'd be a separate.
That's a separate.
No, but the quorum is only 2 of each house, so 12 months seems reasonable, because actually there are an awful lot of people who cannot be there and still be quorum. That was the point.
Oh, I see,
Right, so our voting says that we're supposed to, when we get to votes, we're supposed to split off into our 4. I don't think we should. I think we should just do a. What is it? Well, when it says we're supposed to vote on things, we're supposed to split up into our 4 groups and come out back together. But
But this small little thing.
We try not to.
I know we try not to.
Try not to vote. So can we see if we can avoid voting?
But do we not want to just say if anybody disagrees?
If people really want to have a vote, then can they not shout that they want to vote rather than let's automatically do it?
Okay, so we're just going to assume, unless anybody says otherwise, that we're going to agree on these. That's fine by me. That's fine by me. Right, so we're happy with 4.5 to be as is. Fantastic. So the next one that would appear would be voting, where it says each group has 1 vote on any matter where voting is deemed appropriate. Each group is free to determine for itself how to decide what its vote may be. However, if a group has not advised the local authority of alternative methods of determining 1 vote, that vote will be decided by a majority of votes within the group. A tied vote will be recorded as an abstention. Anybody unhappy with that as it stands? I mean, it's pretty much how it was before. Yeah, okay, that one stays as is then. Yes.
Just ask a question about, so in the representative groups.
Yep.
So although it says that I'm a co-opted member, I became a full member a few meetings back.
Yep.
Does that mean then that it should say for high in the groups to be represented?
It should now.
Yeah, it should.
It can go.
Okay.
So that means.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
And that's well, sorry,
Yeah,
not
no,
laminating.
Yeah. Okay, the next one says, as 5.3, it says, only group members present in the meeting may vote. And the bit that's possibly contentious is it says, present means virtually.
Well, since another bit of it says that the meetings will be virtual unless the local authority deems they need not to be, then we can't, having said that the meetings can be virtual, we can't say virtual present can't work.
Okay, right. As is then, fantastic, I'm loving this. So 5.4 says SACRE will be considered correct if there are 2 members of each group in attendance. And those in attendance in group A must include 1 member of a non-Christian perspective. This is the one that's causing us problems. Because it's not always the case that we have 2 members of each group.
We need them.
But that would often mean that we're not going to be correct.
Yeah. But we are a huge group. Each group's quite big. 2 is less than half of any group.
We are today, but the last meeting, there was.
Well, I know, but the point,
Yeah.
the point was that that's not that we should run that way, but that wasn't acceptable.
No.
Okay, I'm just looking around and I think I'm the only person in group C.
Sorry?
I think I'm the only person in group C.
I am in group C as well. That works, A and C, I'm a teacher.
Okay.
Oh,
But you
yeah,
can't-
no,
can't
you
be
can't be
both,
both,
can't be
you're
both.
an A and a behind.
Okay.
Okay, so as it stands at the moment, we are not correct according to this.
Do we need to have a quorum in order to make
Yes,
decisions?
yes,
On a voting.
we do.
So you can take a view,
So we can discuss things.
and we can take a view, can't we?
Well, we can, but it was some concern that we had when we were discussing this in the first place, when we said that the choracy is going to become difficult in certain circumstances. And last meeting, we weren't quorum, and this meeting we're not.
It's Mary, not Lucy.
Mary?
Mary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mary, who was just walked on.
Mary's the same thing.
Yes.
Okay, so we are correct. Okay.
My point was, if we need the quorum in order to make decisions, in the meetings I've attended so far, and I've only been here briefly, we haven't voted on anything. So is it that frequent an issue?
It's not that frequent that we vote on things.
But we have made decisions without voting, because we try to avoid, as Francis says, we try to avoid it.
If we can all make decisions and decide things without, then great.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Just thinking, point of example is the constitution we're looking at today. So even if we're not quorum, can we still make recommendations? And I'm just wondering about the adoption of this. I mean, surely we have to adopt it, but normally is it Somerset Council that adopt it? So theoretically, we could make a recommendation to Somerset Council, and actually that's within our quorum, would be my understanding, is that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think also if we come to a situation where we're not officially caught in the room or on the online room, we can defer that vote. There's options, aren't there, around that particular decision to be made that will be suiting best. But a recommendation, as you say, could be made.
Francis.
In 5.1, it says because SACRE is an advisory group, it cannot make a decision. But it can record a position in a matter on which it is advising the local authority. So we're not actually making decisions. We are coming to a view on what we would want to advise. And going back to the quorum, I would really want us to push to have at least 2 people from each group, and we've got one today.
We do.
And we just have to make sure we are the virtual problem was the virtual bit,
Mm.
always. I think it's a sort of admission of defeat to say, oh, we've got somebody. And I would really not want to admit defeat like that.
Okay, so
Can
can
I make a suggestion? Are we not supposed to be collective organisation that together we're collegiate? So surely the question of being quorate is dependent upon the collective position rather than individual combinations.
Except what it says in the Constitution, though. The Constitution is quite clear that we're supposed to have 2 people from each of the 4 groups in order to make recommendations.
Well, I'm just suggesting that we widen that and make it more flexible.
Yeah.
It depends what the regulations are.
Yeah.
I don't know what they are.
That was what I was about to suggest again, if we could fit it in, would it be possible to arrange the quorum that you have to have a percentage of the members here, but 1 from each? I don't know what the framework is that we're operating under, but that would allow us to have the numbers, but then give us that flexibility in an example where you were the only person that turned up, didn't make the meeting non-quorum because you had enough members in the room.
Okay.
I think something needs to go on and find out if that's possible to make that amendment.
I think we need to take that as an action, just to check as to how that fits with the regulations.
I would add that in most organisations, the quorum requirement is the minimum.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the maximum. We're talking about what is the minimum situation in particular, even difficult circumstances. That's why I suggested a wider definition.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Ed. So we need to get, right, so
we need to look at the
we need with,
non-statutory guidance.
Yep, so guidance on that one.
If all of the elements are agreed today, could we then? Sorry. Subject to it being as we would hope it to be, could we make a recommendation today to approve?
You could effectively, my take would be you could probably, the SACRE could delegate that to the chair on behalf of everyone else, that if the sort of compromise position, compromise situation is what people want and is okay by the regulations, then the chair could okay that.
Sure. Now, specifically, you need to tell Pippa what you want to actually propose.
So we need clarity on what it is.
Yes.
This is often a bit where we.
So should we leave this to democratic services to do with the wordings?
I think it's probably down to SACRE to do, a SACRE member to do the wording.
Okay.
But we just need clarity on what it is and that you're all agreeing to that.
Okay. So are we agreeing then that if the majority of people who are eligible to vote for something, then that becomes our position?
What?
Is that what we're agreeing? Because I'm confused about what.
So it's of course.
Do you want to form some words?
Yeah, so I think the chorus should be based on 25% attendance, which is standard.
Right.
And we could just change the wording to 1 member from each group. That way we know we've got the numbers, we were a quorum body.
Yeah.
Yeah. We know we have a voice from each group, but we're not being restricted.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether that is a proposal that would work. Yeah.
Agreed.
25% quorum and 1 from each.
I'm not trying to make this too formal. Could I have a show of hands and I can hear them along?
Sorry, I would like to.
You vote in groups. It's 4 votes total.
If we choose to make it that, but we can also, as
That's the law.
As we've done in the past, though, Francis, quite often when we come to decisions, we decide as a group. We very rarely split into our 4 constituent groups.
Yeah, but if we have to vote, we have to do it that way. If we don't have to vote, then we don't have to do it. So we don't do shows of hands.
I think we're all doing it many times.
Yeah, I've been absent for a few years. Before that, it was dividing into houses so we vote.
Okay, so Rona first.
I just want to raise the question that is in my mind, is that if you go to 1 vote, person in each vote, then you can, group A could be voting on a non-Christian thing or a Christian thing. I don't think either of those are appropriate.
It needs to be. I think for that group, because it's so huge, we need more than one. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think it needs to be two, and because it says one of those has got to be a non-Christian.
Yeah.
So even if there was
That
that
group
Christian
is
here, you still couldn't vote because of there wasn't a non-Christian
Yeah.
representative.
But the other groups, B, C, and D, could be one person. But from the group A, I think it needs to be two, one of which has to be religious, one of which.
No, one of them has to be Christian.
Christian, and the
bias,
other
and
is.
one of them has to be a non-Christian religion.
Because it's such a big group, there's so many. Sorry. But you're right, I agree. Yes, thank you, Rinna.
Really good point, I haven't thought of it.
So still just not gonna.
That's gonna be lots of
Not
words.
unless we get
A
really
lot
sort
of
of fiddly with
correct
what the
wording.
definition of correlative, and that is a
Yeah.
disaster itself. Like, just so other people have their hands up first, so.
Mine was pretty much the same point, yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Mary.
I'd also just say in relation to voting, I think that as we are voting on the constitution of all things, it is important that we obey the constitution whilst voting it in. So whereas we may well think that a different form of voting may be prudent in some sort of situations, I would say that is not appropriate here. We probably do need to divide into our groups to vote on the constitution, would be my reading of the situation.
But if we're just gonna put in here, because if you look on 5.5, it says arrangements for voting will be agreed at the start of the meeting to take into account the format of the meeting. So this is where before we've said what we're going to do is we're going to agree by the majority of the people in the room. So we haven't necessarily needed to split up into 4 groups.
If I could just come back in again, I love flexibility, but this is one of the problems that flexibility gives you, is that sometimes you get contradictory
of course
situations, so.
I wonder whether we work out this correct wording. And then, once that is sorted, then we can make a decision on it. But until we have the wording, I don't think we can say yes or no to any.
Alison, yes.
I think it's really important considering kind of the bit of ambiguity that we've got, that we go away and really kind of make sure that we are to the letter in terms of this. So I propose that we actually delay it and bring it back to that.
Does that have a knock-on impact as to a time frame for us to approve?
Yeah, it just means that if it is deferred, it won't be implemented until May. I don't know, it'll probably end up being sometime next year, because it has to go through our channels in.
Okay, so you were under the impression it would be done.
So from a council perspective, it have to go through our Constitution and Governance Committee, having been agreed, by having been approved for recommendation by SACRE, and then onto our full council. And so if the next meeting isn't until December, realistically, it won't be the Constitution and Governance probably till early 2025.
Yeah,
And then you'll possibly.
mid, I would say it might end up being.
But ultimately, you've got to get it right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. Mary.
About the two people from each group being there, when I was on SACRE before as a union representative rather than post 16, and we did have some issues where we had to split into the groups to vote, and very formally, I really valued the conversations I was able to have with the other people in that group who are in a similar situation to me. And I think that, I suppose that if you're saying that there could be one person is enough, that one person then isn't having any other input potentially. If you could just have that one person making that decision, and I would basically, I'm saying I think it should stay how it is.
Right, thanks, Mary.
Yeah, Chair, just a quick look on my calendar. I'm actually Vice Chair of Constitution and Governance, so I had a quick look through. It is on the 9th of December, we have a meeting. I think our meeting is actually after that. Yeah, which is, I think it's probably just a few days.
So it means if we decided it today, this could all be in place for the March meeting. If we defer it, it means this constitution would be in place until our meeting in June next year.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
That the chairman and vice chairman together work with officers to make sure that we are following what the regulations require us to do. and that the rest of us will be happy.
Yes, so they, so do that, you and Helen and myself go away and we make sure that we clarify the points as per the statutory requirements.
Because I think we're dancing a bit on the head of a pin.
So you're delegating to us to make the decision.
Delegating you lot to get on with it and deal with it.
Is that the
Because it's come back with, I mean, the last 3 years.
I'm just looking at the places that you're putting there. So,
I absolutely agree, Francis, with the, it's the practical thing, but I also wouldn't want either members who are not part of the conversation today or to people to turn up or to see it go through when they haven't had a chance to comment on it. So,
But they have had a chance to comment on it because Neil asked.
yeah, but I suppose they won't have had a chance necessarily on what Alison, myself, Neil and Ellen have come up with.
There are
Okay.
specific, sorry.
I was going to say, we could share it with everybody and say, this is our proposal, and if you don't agree with it, then let me.
This is the date that you
Yeah.
need to get back to us by, because we need to get back to you guys
We do it
by.
via email, basically.
Yeah.
It's how
People happy
and
to
we
see.
work out some words.
So that's-
All that, yeah, you can. So I'm not
Yeah.
trying to be
No, I
I'm
know,
not trying to be a bureaucrat.
but the specific paragraphs we're talking about rather,
Yeah.
they're only kind of 2, perhaps 3 at the most.
Yeah.
If we just annotate the document to show exactly what we have changed,
Yeah.
Yes.
then everybody will be really clear that it's only that we have changed, I think,
Okay.
I'd rather do it like that so that it happens quicker.
Yeah.
Yes.
Than us drag this out for another 9 months.
Yeah.
Well, we've been at it for 2 years.
Yeah, I know. But an additional 9
I remember.
Yeah, really joy. Yeah,
Okay, all right, so,
and then get back to us by that date. If you're not happy or have suggestions for tweaks,
Yeah.
let us know.
But shouldn't we all get back to you, whatever our view is, whether we agree or are not happy?
Yes.
Everybody needs to respond.
That's your kind of your thing. Yeah, I like this.
There's a problem with that, because if somebody doesn't respond, then we can't do anything with it. Yeah. So I think we should. Make it- if you don't
Yeah,
respond,
if you want to
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have no response, then we're going to assume you've agreed.
Yeah, agreed, yes.
Right,
If you want to email saying, I love that, then please do.
Yeah.
We love a lovely email, but if you don't, take it as yes.
Well, as an example, I don't respond to emails at school unless I get the second one, right? Because I think the first one is just, they don't really want me to do anything. And then they give me the second one, they actually mean it.
Here's the most frustrating person in the world. I can vouch for
And then
that.
the third one, okay, okay, get on with that.
And text messages.
Just send you 2 in a row then, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, start doing that.
Tell you what you have to do.
Okay, so we will get together and we will sort this
Do
out.
you want to just tell us what the other questions were so that we're aware?
The other one is just basically about the meetings will be virtual unless it's been agreed by the local authority.
This is a COVID legacy.
Yes.
It's when
We-
there's what?
Yes,
We're going to need to change that.
yes.
They're going to be
Do
hybrid.
we legally need to change that?
Well, I mean, the standard format that we have is hybrid now, so that should be.
Yeah,
think it makes
but just to the regulation changes that allowed meetings that are held in public to be held virtually is no longer in place. So none of our other meetings actually do allow for that. People can attend, but they certainly can't be
No,
part of
you're right, so it would,
So if we're saying that this is not a formal committee of the council, then we're probably all right, but we just need to check that we aren't a formal committee of the council. We're not, we're set up. The council sets up.
Legally, it would. I mean, we do pretty much have this hybrid format all the time, don't we? We have the majority of people turning up physically.
Access,
Yes, indeed.
sorry.
So in relation to online voting, if we were to allow that, we get into all sorts of trouble with the groups, because of course, if we do have to split up into groups, you've got groups of people in the room, you've got groups of people online. How do you marry those groups up without everybody being privy to conversation?
Yeah.
So there are some difficulties around that. Yeah. So,
So it needs to go away and be a democratic service.
yes, I think that.
How would we can break out the
Break up route devices.
Yes, which means. Sorry, I don't do technology.
I'm really, really sorry.
Of course, kind
Just, I should have emailed these to you and I failed to. I just wanted to check that we mean to have the constitution has appointees being appointed by the local authority for 4 years, but co-opted members being co-opted by SACRE for 3 years. Are we happy with that?
Didn't notice that.
Where's that?
It's in a co-op. Sorry, Frank, can you point me to that one? Sorry.
6 is co-opted.
Six is the
Oh, I
one
see,
co-opted and says 3 years,
Yeah.
and the appointments of the people in the houses, it says it's for 4 years. You'll find that one.
Yeah, that's on the table itself. That's easy to see.
Are you suggesting that that's aligned?
No, I'm just
No.
saying, I'm not suggesting it's aligned, I'm noting that they're different,
They're different.
and is that okay? The next one was, in group B, Church of England. There are 5 things named, Diocese and Education, Diocese General, LA maintained, which presumably means LA church schools. A member of the clergy and trust. What does trust mean? Who's, do you mean Academy Trust in general, or specifically the Bath and Wells Academy Trust? Academy Trust with church articles, or Bath and Wells, which are we saying?
I would presume it's to be
Yeah.
treated with a.
I read that as being back from West.
Just be perhaps to be specific, but that's what I mean.
Possibly can be.
And there was one, also one more. Yeah, I wasn't quite sure what I understood by, in 12.1. She's right, almost at the end. Was it 12.1? Specifically, but not exclusively. No, it's not 12.1. Oh, yes, it was. The local authority will allocate a portion of the central school service block to fund SACRE and associated matters, specifically but not exclusively. What does specifically but not, or does it mean in these ways? Oh, I see, it's in these ways. Oh, but, okay.
Yeah.
But it just, that's really,
Yeah.
sorry, I've only just clocked it.
No, don't worry.
Okay.
I'll shut up.
No, thank you for shutting that. Thank you for.
Yeah, thank you for shutting up.
So, the question that Francis has just raised is, do we want to have co-opted members, with the same time service as everybody else? So 4-year terms. That would be neater, wouldn't it? Okay.
Easy.
Yeah. Okay, so that's another one we'll do. Thanks, Francis. Okay. Yes, of course you can. Sorry, Mark, you're right next to me. I can't.
That's right. I'm not overly concerned about this, but why do they have best before date? Why do they get kicked off after 3 or 4 years? What if they're valuable? You might want to keep them for longer.
Well, they can become members again. It's just, it was suggested to us that this was something called best practice if we belong for 4-year terms.
Okay, I got the impression that once they're gone, they're gone. Right?
No, but they can reapply and come again.
Yeah, he mentions that co-opted members may serve up to 2 3-year terms. So I guess it'd be 4-year terms, but that seems like a limit rather than.
I think it's the same for everybody.
Yeah, I think it's 2 4-year terms.
So 2 in a row.
It's about 8 years and then.
Right, so if you look on 4.6, it says terms of office will be 4 years, at which point they will either be reappointed or replaced, whilst in practice it would be 2 4-year terms.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So 8 years on SACRE is longer than you get in business. Everybody okay? Sorry, don't be flipping. Everybody okay? Right, so that's work for us to do. Budget updates. Alison,
Yay. I thought this was going to be the complex one. Still might have just shot myself in the foot. So this is just an update in terms of the proposed budget, and obviously the budget is what we propose we will spend throughout the academic year. So this isn't an update on spend to date, just to note that. Formally, SACRE has an allocation from the Central Schools VSG fund for £15,000. That has been doubled basically because of the ASC process. So £15,000 of that is for the ASC process. And that is an annual allocation. So we are presuming, hopefully, that that will automatically be reallocated for the next academic year, which aligns with the fact that the ASC process is a long-term process and will take us several years. Even in the shorter term, adopting an existing syllabus as we're proposing to do, but then shortly after that, or within a year or so after that, we will start the process of actually doing our own from scratch. So clearly there is a budget that's required for that. So that's why there's an extra allocation that was approved by Schools Forward, just to make you aware. There are salary allocations for our RE advisors. There is a contract allocation for Glade for the interfaith with the leaf worker, for SACRE, and then operating costs is everything else. So obviously £15,000 of that is for ASC operations. So there are some budget remaining for us to kind of discuss as to how that's best used. We've reduced significantly the cost of venues because we're using Broughton House. So formerly we would have had to be paying for venues on occasions. So it is for us to kind of discuss if there are any things that we want to allocate that budget at all. And if not, I would have to request carry forward of that money from a DSU purpose into the following year, which could then be used for additional funds for ASC, for example, if we wish that to be used in that way, or for any other purposes that we might deem appropriate. Out of that operating cost, there is a contribution as well towards those SACRE boxes because of the storage and the management and the delivery of those. I need to confirm actually how much that was last year. That's something that wasn't available to me at all that I've put down. So I propose I come back with a more detailed allocation of spend to date and planned spend over the next remaining proportion of the financial year so that we can make a view on whether we might need to carry something forward at that point. Is that okay?
I mean, I recall we did used to have some little competitions that we ran, didn't we? So that Barbara,
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, that would have been a cost to us for that as well. Did we give money to Leonard with his and Frank as well?
Previously, I believe we did, yes.
No.
So we did. Okay. Leonard.
Thank you. Thank you, Neil. That's a good suggestion.
Okay. So, okay. So I mean, I'm saying that those are the kind of things that as SACRE, I think we should be considering to support.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So we can't spend on biscuits then.
Biscuit would be nice.
We used to have it's of a building now.
Yeah.
I think that
Well, if I can just add to that, Neil, because we are across the board educationally, we're in contact with all schools and colleges and so on over the year. So we're very much in the front line of trying to support the values of which the Anne Frank Awards are representative. So it wouldn't be out of place for SACRE to make some sort of contribution.
No, I agree.
Can I just add to that?
It's
Jess.
Yes.
Hi, just to say, one of the things, I'm a member of Somerset Anne Frank Youth Awards as well. And one of the things we do every year is the Creative Writing Awards, which is actually held at the cathedral. So it's actually a really lovely event, and it does illustrate our interfaith work at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So just to add to what Leonard said.
Thank you, Jess.
I think I would suggest that we would need a proposal if there was a suggestion of funding on the table that we could really then discuss as a group at the next meeting if that's not too late in the year.
So you mean somebody in this meeting proposes that we fund that? Somebody?
Yeah, if there's a proposal on the table, obviously we need to know how much that will be out of the budget and what that will be spent.
So,
and we are, just for the information of the group, we are fully recognised as a charitable institution by the Charities Commission. So we're a full-fledged charity.
Good.
So that's something we need to do, or is that something?
Sure.
Yes.
I hate to be the harbinger of doom, okay, but I think as a current Somerset councillor, I do have to just mention that there is financial problems. we are looking at squeezing all the budget. So although we are looking at this being next year, I just think we do need to show some diligence with money in particular at the moment.
Yep.
So I think we'd have to be a proposal that came from them, and I think we'd have to probably judge it. Yeah.
But these are historical things we supported that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Yes.
And can I just clarify, although I absolutely agree with everything you just said, this is not council budget, it's GSG funding.
Even better, right?
Anyway.
Okay, proposals, if you would like some money suggested from Alison, is that you suggest how much you might think would be a good contribution. How does that sound?
Could Jess and Leonard?
Yes, do you think you could have a chat amongst yourselves, Jess and Leonard, and come out with a proposal?
Yeah.
Fantastic, brilliant.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So that's the budget. Right, date for next meeting is the 11th of December. Is that a Wednesday again? And same place, same time. Fantastic.
And I will make a suggestion that I will bring Christmas cake, if that's okay.
You're gonna make it yourself.
Yes, no one eats it in my house, I like to make it, I'll bring it here, where people might be more willing to eat it.
Mark, sorry.
Well, having heard that, I'm particularly devastated to say this, but I'm not going to be able to make the other December meeting.
I'll leave the cake for you.
But that does mean I won't be able to present my worldview at that meeting and have to do it at that.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. So, who else would like to volunteer? Who's looking at burning there? Looking at burning there?
Yeah.
Okay. So, because I was thinking it's really interesting. Most people don't really know who the high art, do they? So it'd be really interesting.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can do it.
You do the next one. Right. February. I think that's ending. So, if nobody has anything else to say, I think we will end this meeting nice and early at 15:22.
Oh.
Nice one.
Well, I like to say speedy meetings.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, 10 out of 10.